Masuraya. Masuraya. It's Mothra.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Gorilla Whale, a Godzilla watch-along podcast. I am your kaiju consultant, Kevin Carpenter.
And I am a Cosmo, Kayla Knudsen.
That's right, folks. We're bringing back the twin fairies, but they're not fairies anymore. Now they're Cosmos. We're bringing back Godzilla.
It's totally different.
And we're also bringing back Gorilla Whale's favorite kaiju, Mothra.
Mothra! Also now introducing Batra.
The black Mothra, the yang to Mothra's yin.
Wasn't even like a bat. It was just like a gother moth.
Yeah, it was the Shadow the Hedgehog of Mothra.
Yes.
And I realize now that I am prematurely using that joke because I think I've already written that joke into the summary, but we'll get there when we get there.
You'll have to choose a different Shadow video game character. Dark. It's like Nega Scott from Scott Pilgrim.
I don't like saying that name because I don't want to get canceled.
You feel like you get a little bit too close to the sun.
I mispronounce things all the time. I don't want to get that close to the edge. Anyway, today, folks, we are going to be talking about Godzilla vs. Mothra 1992, aka Godzilla and Mothra, the Battle for Earth. This is very important to note. When we did the fourth Godzilla movie, Mothra vs. Godzilla, that was the billing. Mothra got top billing, so it became Mothra vs. Godzilla. And now it's Godzilla vs. Mothra.
I guess because they had done a Mothra movie, and then they did Mothra vs. Godzilla. So Godzilla was an older character. Mothra was the young, hot, new, exciting thing. Mm-hmm. And now Godzilla is A-list. Not that Mothra is not, but, I understand.
And I think another thing is that at that point in time, Godzilla was still a heel. He was the bad guy for Godzilla, and Godzilla raids again. And then there was King Kong versus Godzilla, and King Kong got the top billing because he was the more well-known giant monster. So Mothra versus Godzilla was here's the hero, here's the villain. Mm-hmm. But here now, we are full Godzilla. We're in the Heisei era. We had Return of Godzilla, Godzilla versus Biollante, Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, and now Mothra is coming back to the Godzilla fold rather than these two kaiju meeting up.
Yes, yeah, Godzilla has had a more robust franchise. However, Godzilla is a heel again. Godzilla's not a hero anymore. The Heisei era, Godzilla has been a villain thus far. Mm-hmm. So, I get it. It's like, it's the Megamind situation. The villain is the main character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is also interesting watching all of these Godzilla movies. All of them are, of course, in the shadow of the original Godzilla. Out of all the movies that we have seen, none of them have reached the emotional impact of the climax of the original Godzilla, of Dr. Serizawa staring down the representation of science gone wrong and choosing to sacrifice both himself and his legacy in order to stare Godzilla in the eye and kill them both at the same time. We haven't reached that emotional impact yet.
We're getting close, though.
We're getting close. This movie, though, is invariably in the shadow of Mothra versus Godzilla. And you can see that in them taking a lot of the plot beats of that movie without any regard for how they worked.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. I mean, it's a reboot. That's the sentence, I guess. Like, it's a reboot, and sometimes reboots are not necessarily building as well as they could off of the backs of the originals. There were some fun things in here, though. But yeah, I'm not sure that it was really. I mean, let's just get into it.
Let's get into it.
The TLDR is I don't know that it fully lived up to the original Mothra or the original Mothra versus Godzilla, but there's some fun stuff here still.
Exactly. So, historical context, we're sort of back into the yearly Godzilla release rhythm. Yeah. Godzilla vs. Biollante was 1989. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah was 1991. This is 1992. And then the next few movies are going to be 93, 94, 95. So we're back in that rhythm. It's get the seasonal Godzilla out. Here's the deal. According to Japan's Favorite Monstar, the unauthorized biography of the Big G by Steve Reifel, Japan's movie-going audience around 1992 was around 70% female.
Wow.
But wait, didn't Toho have a kaiju up their sleeve that was popular with women? That's right, we're bringing Mothra back.
I really need, at some point, I'm going to have Ashlee make some sort of Mothra, like, Barbie crossover art. This Barbie is a kaiju. And I'll stick it on my water bottle.
Honestly, I would love that. And folks, by the way, so Ashlee is the one who created all of our chibi art that you can see in our shorts and on our podcast covers. And she also created the podcast covers themselves, including the Gorilla Whale of the Gorilla Whale album.
If you read the description on our credits, then you know who Ashlee is. And if you don't read, that's who Ashlee is.
Exactly. So Takeo Okawara is now in the director's chair after being the assistant director in Return of Godzilla. But not a Godzilla fan Kazuki Amori is still working on the screenplay. So we've got the director of the previous two movies. He's on the screenplay. We got a new director that had some Godzilla experience. So that's sort of the shakeup going on here. So originally, Mothra was going to star in her own movie called Mothra vs. Bagan. But as Toho execs feared that Mothra couldn't carry a movie by herself, cowards, they decided to shove Godzilla in there too. This is a side thing here. We're not doing an episode on this because it's near impossible for me to find actual footage of this existing. But there was a mini television series called Adventure Godzilla Land, which was created to promote the upcoming movie. This series featured chibi versions of Godzilla, Mothra, and other kaiju, along with live-action trivia segments, live-action clips from the films, and a song about doing gymnastics called Godzilla Sofa Mi Re Do.
Fascinating.
During these segments, both a cartoon chibi Godzilla and a live-action suit Godzilla would do musical aerobic exercise with different groups of people. So that's the background radiation with this movie coming out.
This feels very Japanese to me.
Yeah.
Like, I've watched a decent amount of anime and manga in my time, or read a decent amount of manga and watched a decent amount of anime. This feels very Japanese. I love it.
Yeah, and by the way, just not to be confused, so Adventure Godzilla Land was the mini television series to promote this movie, and then they came out with a sequel Godzilla Land series that very much focused on the chibi kaiju, very McDonald's cartoon kind of feeling. And those were to promote the next few movies. Where we're not going to do an episode on those. I just want to bring them to your attention, audience.
Yeah.
So, anyway, on December 12th, 1992, Godzilla vs. Mothra releases. So that's the historical context.
These are Christmas films.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, these come out, like, in December. It's like, hey, guys, you know, we're getting the family together. Let's go watch this year's Godzilla.
It's beginning to feel a lot like Godzilla. Well, also, I mean, actually, Japan does have a Christian population, but it doesn't have a very large Christian I don't think it has a particularly large Christian population. So I suppose technically they wouldn't view it as Christmas movies. Because these are the Japanese release dates, yeah.
Yeah. They're also a little bit before Christmas. They celebrate Christmas over there, but it has like a different cultural significance, of course.
I think it would be fun to go to. I always want to go to other countries for holidays and see what they're like, except Halloween. America is the best place to be for Halloween.
Bar none.
Nobody else goes as hard on Halloween as America. Any other holiday, though, I would like to visit other countries to see what it's like.
I mean, quick side note, if you go to Disney's Epcot around Christmas time, they actually have figures from each of the different cultures' versions of Christmas tell you about them. Like you go over to France and there's Pepe Noel, telling you about
What an American conversation. I'm like, I'd like to go abroad for Christmas. And you're like, well, what about Disney's Epcot, which will surely be more affordable for you, a poor American, to attend?
I'm just saying, they have that.
Just go to Florida. Well, listen, it's already a 6-hour flight to get to Florida.
True.
So
you're already on a plane.
You know, yeah.
All right, let's do this. A meteor plummets to Earth. On impact, it awakens Godzilla from his watery slumber. Storms break out, the ocean's tides go nuts, and a giant egg is uncovered on a mysterious island. Da-da!
I wonder what that egg could possibly be.
We cut to an underground temple in Thailand, where a man named Takuya Fujito, who is totally not a B-rated Indiana Jones ripoff, including the hat, uncovers a golden idol.
God, he's even divorced.
God, as he takes the golden idol, the temple starts to collapse, and he rushes outside before he can be buried alive. He breathes a sigh of relief before coming face to face with the culture's natives, Thailand police. Turns out the natives of any culture don't like it when you take their artifacts.
Wow, there's probably a lot of layers here that we Americans are not fully aware of or educated on, but oh boy.
Like, it's literally the scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark where he comes out of the temple and he sees, like, the tribesmen, but instead of spears being pointed in his face, it's assault rifles.
Yeah.
really gives a different context.
He's grave robbing. Whoops.
So, Takuya is set to spend years in Thai prison, but he is bailed out by a trio of figures. Ruzo Dabashi, who is a Japanese government official, Kenji Ando, who works for the Marutomo Company, and Takuya's ex-wife, Masako Tezuka, who wants this deadbeat to pay his goddamn child support.
I think it's so funny. I
watched this movie multiple times, and I still don't know what Masako's, like, actual job was, like, why she was here with all these people. She was just here to be the ex-wife.
It was a little thin. It is both comedic that the Japanese government and the Marutomo Company who want to work with Takuya. It is both comedic that they tracked down his wife his ex-wife in order to find him. And he wasn't there, and then they found him in Thai prison, and she's like, "You found that bastard? I'm coming with." That is funnier than if she worked with either entity. It is a little thin, though, that they don't explain it, but not often do these... I mean, Biollante having, 3 named women, that was a significant achievement.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't expect much.
This movie is also very much in the shadow of Raiders of the Lost Ark because they're just cribbing from it all the time.
Yeah, which is interesting because Raiders was early 80s. I mean... It was still a relatively recent film. I mean, if Raiders had come out in 1990 and then, it was like that just happened and they rushed into writing this and shooting it, I would understand a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit older, but I don't know. I mean, theoretically, a lot of archaeological or adventure stuff tends to bite off Raiders because Raiders loom so large, I guess. I don't know.
They also... So Raiders has the ex-wife character, but she's also an explorer in her own right. She's, she's side by side with Indiana. In this movie, Masako has 2 modes. She has 2 modes. Yeah. It's either, hey, remember when we were married? And that's 5% of the time. And then the other 95% is ball busting.
Yes, and now I'm going to need everybody that is tapping on their keyboards to pause because we know Marianne is not actually Indy's ex-wife. No. They just dated. And I can't remember if they did get married and then divorced by the time we get to the 4th, the Crystal Skull one.
Do Indiana and Marianne have Shia LaBeouf as a child?
I believe that's what's implied.
Okay.
Is that Shia LaBeouf is Indy's... Because Shia LaBeouf is Marianne's son. And I believe the implication is that Indy is his father. However, I think that means that they didn't get married. That Indy didn't... Because Indy didn't know about Shia LaBeouf. So, yes, we know that they weren't actually married. But it was big divorced energy.
Exactly.
It's exes. It's always the exes. It's the exes to lovers, reunion. thing or whatever, like, etc.
We know how this story goes.
Delete your comment.
Takuya will be let out of prison if he agrees to go on a jungle expedition. Marutomo Company and the Japanese government are developing an island in Indonesia called Infant Island.
Hey.
But a recently discovered mysterious object could hamper their plans. If Takuya finds the object, he goes free.
Is it the giant egg?
It's probably the giant egg. After some convincing, Takuya heads off on the expedition along with Ando the company man and Takuya's ballbuster ex-wife Masako. They brave thick vines, a collapsing rope bridge, and a river voyage before uncovering the mysterious object, a giant, multicolored egg. Real quick, by the way, got pause real quick about the collapsing rope bridge scene. Yes, it's the exact scene for Raiders of the Lost Ark. They go on the rope bridge, it snaps, they have to hold on while it swings to the other side, and then they have to, like, jump off into the water below. But, like, the way it's shot, it is very clearly the water is, like, 3 feet below them.
Yeah, also, the way that they let go, the camera is poised above them, looking down at them as they let go from the bridge, and each person has a pretty different dramatic reaction until we get to Takuya, who sort of is adrenaline junkie about it. And I was in my head, there was like six different pop songs that were fighting to be the song of the summer as they jump into the lake. Let's go, guys. I think it was the slow motion of it that made it a little comedic in that regard.
And you can you can cheat the shot so easily, but no, they hang on them as they jump off the bridge into the water, and it's so clear. Like, I have jumped off diving boards that are a higher height than what they were jumping off of, and they're also jumping into, like, crystal blue water that's supposed to be a jungle river. So well done on the effects, guys.
Yeah, jungle river would probably be a little muddier.
So meanwhile, the Japanese government is concerned about the meteor's effects on the planet. After everyone gets a chance to look into the camera and say, "We are doing bad things to the planet," Psychic Girl Miki confirms that they can no longer track Godzilla.
Hey, it's Miki.
Hey, it's Miki. She's back. Once again, she has nothing to do.
Yeah, except to be psychic and tell us where Godzilla is or is not. And it's like, I think we can kind of know. We don't know where Godzilla is, and then we do know very much where Godzilla is.
Yeah. For the past 3 movies, Miki will have one scene where she goes, "I can't feel Godzilla anymore." And then she'll have another scene where she goes, "Godzilla is coming." And then she grabs her paycheck and she walks off set.
Good for Miki.
Good for
Miki. Get that dollar. It's like Anna Kendrick in the Twilight movies. They don't give her a ton to do, but she gets to cash that check and then go do a little indie until the Pitch Perfect movies come along. I will say, I forgot what I was going to say.
Well, then moving on.
My brain is a little moth just flying around in there. Carry on.
Takuya and the others uncover ancient cave drawings that depict strange machines and a conflict between 2 giant moths. And hey, do you remember that moment in Raiders of the Lost Ark where Indiana is in the temple and he cleverly uses a staff to redirect a sunbeam to unlock an ancient mechanism? Well, in this movie, a sunbeam comes through a carving in the cave before moving impossibly fast to reveal a narrow hallway that they could have noticed anyway. Totally not a ripoff, this movie.
I just want to watch Raiders now.
Yeah.
I think Raiders could be in my Letterboxd top 4, just saying.
Hell yeah.
I love Raiders.
Takuya's crew also meet 2 tiny women who refer to themselves as the Cosmos. Not the fairies, not the Shobijin. These are the Cosmos now. So the twin fairies are back, but just like...
Why?
It's a Mothra movie. You gotta have the twin fairies.
I know, but why are they called the Cosmos?
I don't know. But just like King Ghidorah in the last movie, we're tweaking their mythology a little bit, not just their names. In this movie, the Cosmos were an ancient civilization from 12,000 years ago, with Mothra as their protector. This civilization was advanced enough to build incredible machines that tried to control the climate. But because of their hubris, the Earth itself gave birth to a black Mothra, known as Batra. Mothra destroyed the machines to protect the Earth, then decided it would need to destroy intelligent life as well to finish the job. Mothra and Mothra fought. Mothra was defeated, the cosmos were nearly wiped out, and Mothra reincarnated into her egg form before being buried for thousands of years. But with the impact of the meteor, both Mothra and Mothra have awoken once more. So we get this interesting thing where Mothra still has her pet humans, or just like pet mortals, but the Infant Islanders are gone, so we don't have to do Pacific Islander blackface.
They never had to do that, technically. You didn't have to do that. You chose to do that. Anyway, is the implication then that the ancient civilization this time was made entirely of tiny little people?
I suppose.
Because significantly, the fairies were the medium between the god Mothra and the natives of Infant Island, which were just regular. I mean, they were human, you know.
Yeah.
The cosmos are a completely different thing. So it sounds like this was a civilization of incredibly tiny people who built machines of unknown sizes capable of controlling the climate. And then, yeah, the Earth manifested Mothra. I mean, I like that we're getting back to, what's the word? Like environmental messaging, you know? We're getting back to consequences of science and consequences of humanity, just like the original Godzilla and the early Godzilla movies and Mothra movies, etc. At times, I did think to myself, this is a little heavy-handed.
A little?
On the messaging. However, being alive in the year of our Lord 2025, sometimes I think perhaps we should have been heavier handed on some people did not get the fucking message, it would seem. So
maybe subtext is a dead art.
So, yeah, I don't know. Like the characterizations of some of the corporate people, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. I was like, yeah, no, this is exactly right. They're all mustache twirling villains in real life too.
It is also interesting with the Mothra mythology shakeup. So Mothra still has her pet mortals, specifically the cosmos. She doesn't have the Infant Islanders, but they're kind of implied to be off screen, maybe, possibly. Anyway, but Mothra was on the side of her pet mortals even as they were terraforming the planet, while Mothra is on the side of the planet, but Mothra also hates mortals because Mothra believes that they will inevitably destroy the planet. So it's not really good versus evil.
Yeah. Yeah, Mothra was a protector of humanity, even though they were fucking shit up. And perhaps she saw the vision, saw that maybe they would change, and Mothra was like, I'm stepping in. You're not stepping in, I'm stepping in. You need to get your boys. You didn't get your boys, I'm stepping in. Kind of a thing, But yeah, it is. That's right, that's a good point, because in the other one, that was very much not the case. Mothra did not have these caveats because her people were not fucking shit up.
Yeah. In the original movies, Mothra just kind of had her pet humans and the Shobijin. And then in this movie, it's like she was the protector of an ancient civilization that we're not going to touch for the rest of the movie, by the way. That whole thing about them creating giant ancient machines that can control the weather. Yeah, I hope you like that cave drawing, because that's all we're going to get out of that.
It feels very like, in the Marvel movies where the villain will be a character railing against the status quo and they're very radical. And you're like, well, they've got some points. But then they do something that's quote unquote inexcusable that the movie then uses to sort of invalidate their entire movement. And then the hero of the movie or the show or whatever, who's really mostly upholding the status quo, takes that villain down. Like, that's kind of what's happening here. It's like Mothra is protecting this civilization. I was going to say humanity. Mothra is protecting this intelligent civilization that is destroying the Earth. And Mothra is like, hey, this has to stop. But then commits genocide. So it's not, and Mothra has to step in. And it's just, yeah, it kind of felt like that. I'm like, it's a very liberal sort of take on it,
I think we're also just stepping into kaiju morality, because at separate points in this movie, both Mothra and Mothra just go to town on a city, just full on rampage.
Yeah.
So it like I said, it's kind of outside the good evil dichotomy and more what do these specific kaiju want,
which I think is much more. I enjoy these kinds of stories. I enjoy when it's not necessarily good versus evil so much as it is just motivation versus motivation. I think that's very fun too.
They forgot to give Godzilla motivation in this movie. He's just angry.
They forgot to... Welcome to the Godzilla franchise, where the motivations don't matter and the cities are paper. They come up and they go down.
Exactly. So, the Marutomo Company decides to bring the egg and the Cosmos twins to Japan, believing they'll be safer there than on the island. And in a different take than the previous movie, the Cosmos are like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So, they are immediately proven wrong as Mothra attacks Japan. Mothra is currently in his larval form, which is like Mothra's larva form, but black and yellow with spiky horns. So that's where my Shadow the Hedgehog reference comes in there. While the boat
black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow.
God. While the boat carrying the egg is en route to Japan, Godzilla also attacks the boat. We cut to a meeting room, and Japanese government officials take another moment to look at the camera and reiterate, the meteor may be the trigger, but the ones who created this danger was the entire human race. This theme does not work well when none of the current action is actually influenced by human events.
Yeah.
Anyway. So Godzilla attacks the boat carrying Mothra's egg. Takuya decides to release the egg so they can be saved, but Ando the company man attempts to stop him in a fistfight. But in that moment, Mothra in her larval form erupts from the egg. Straight from the cradle, Mothra bites Godzilla's tail because some beefs transcend timelines.
Get his ass.
Literally get his ass.
She's out here throwing hands on sight instantly. You love to see it. Very fun. It also, the company man and Takuya fighting on the barge where the ropes are, just kind of wrestling on the ground, was really funny because the fight choreography in the Godzilla movies, for some reason, is always really ridiculous. And I don't know why. Like, are they not getting stunt people?
Well, you know what part of the reason is?
What?
When Godzilla attacks the boat, all the dramatic music is playing, and then we cut over to Takuya and Ando having a fist fight to try to save themselves, and the music stops. So you just see two people tussling and going, come on, pull hair.
Like, not only does the music stop, but they are fighting like real people do, and the way that real people who don't have combat training fight is super silly and stupid.
Yeah.
Like, we've all seen footage of civilians tussling in a Walmart or something. You're just like, oh, this is not what the movies look like.
Yeah, it's very much grabbing shirts and rolling on the ground, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So their mid-ocean combat is interrupted by Mothra. Mothra attacks Mothra. Godzilla attacks Mothra, and Mothra attacks Godzilla. It's a three-way kaiju fight!
It's a melee!
Mothra and Godzilla dive underwater and shoot laser beams and atomic breath at each other. The force of their combat breaks open the ocean floor, and Mothra and Godzilla fall into an undersea volcano as Mothra swims away. The humans return safely to Japan. However, Takuya and Masako wake up the next morning to find the Cosmos are gone.
They are sharing a bed.
They're sharing a bed.
Just an update on their relationship status, guys. They're sharing a bed. There was a little bit of civil chit-chat in the morning. Did they fuck the night before? Maybe. Do you think I guess maybe they didn't, because the Cosmos were theoretically in the room.
They just put a sheet on the cage that they're holding the Cosmos in.
Yeah, they turn the cage around so they can't see, and they try to be really quiet. Maybe.
So the Cosmos are gone, and it turns
They put
out...
him in the bathroom. Maybe they put him in the bathroom.
Maybe.
That's fine.
They lost
That's
sight
okay.
of them. They moved them to another room so they could fuck off screen.
That's how they were able to, theoretically, and this is why they were distracted, because what Kevin's about to tell you is that the Cosmos have vanished. So I think what happened was they put them in the bathroom so they could have hot reunion sex. And then while they were banging, that was when the Cosmo heist happened. That's why they were distracted. And that's why they didn't, it was, it wasn't until she went into the bathroom in the morning or whatever and saw, oh, the Cosmos are gone. Oh no. Maybe he came through the window in the maybe there's a window in the bathroom or whatever and he came through that. I don't.
Maybe he just came in during the deed and they were distracted.
Maybe they were distracted.
So Ando, the company man, he took the Cosmos and he gave them to his boss, CEO Tomokane, who believes that they can use the Cosmos twins as a publicity stunt. Not sure why, not sure how. Moving on.
Yeah, last time they were kidnapped by Walt Disney and made into an attraction. What does this company even do again, Kevin?
They do bad things to the environment on islands.
I was so excited. You guys remember how excited I was when I had no idea that we were going to get a Mothra movie. I was like, oh, Mothra versus Godzilla. And then it's fine. Mothra looks great. Mothra's doing great the entire time. She looks great. Listen, I'm a comic book fan. I have a lot of experience reading terrible storylines just for my fave.
So Takuya and Masako travel to find the Cosmos, and along the way, Masako meets up with her young daughter Midori. Takuya takes this moment to disappear because he is a deadbeat dad.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. In their captivity, the Cosmos begin to sing the Mothra song, which summons Mothra to head toward Tokyo. If you've listened to our bonus episode on the original Mothra, which is available through subscribing to our Ko-fi page, along with even more bonus episodes, that link's in the description, you know how this song and dance goes. Mothra tears through multiple jets and ships before bringing her rampage to Tokyo.
She's a boss bitch, what can I say?
If you hear two tiny people start singing Masuraya,
you gotta run.
You gotta run.
Get out of there.
You're dead. You gotta go.
Get out of there.
Masako, Midori, and Psychic Girl Miki trace the Cosmos to a hotel, where they find Takuya had stolen the Cosmos from Marutomo Company in order to sell them. Masako confronts Takuya for doing a slavery, and Takuya confronts Masako for bringing their child into a dangerous situation, to which Masako responds, quote, I have every right to let Midori see where the money I get for her support comes from. Keep ball busting, Masako. Get that child support.
Oh my god. She's awesome. I don't know what she does, like what she's doing in this film other than taking Takuya to task, but it's wonderful to see.
To be fair, They are both in the wrong in this moment.
Yeah, nobody's correct. Nobody has to be the correct. I mean, theoretically they're both correct and they're both incorrect, you know. Also, by the way, the guy that Takuya is trying to sell the Cosmos to, definitely American, presumably Walt Disney.
Speaks English. That's all we know about this character.
He speaks English. Yeah, he speaks English, and I think it's more of an American than an English accent on there. So I'm going with that's an American Englishman. Jesus, that's an American. That's an American guy. So this time there's only one American, and they are buying people. It's not great.
How do we know if he's American though? If he's not wearing the American flag baseball cap?
That was a little unclear. So we have plausible deniability. Maybe it's a Canadian. Could be.
So Mothra makes it to the hotel where all of our main characters are, and the young girl Midori decides to let the Cosmos go. We focus on a 20-second shot of the cosmos standing on the palms of Midori's hands and being lifted to the window to greet Mothra. And boy howdy, if you can't get the special effects right, you shouldn't point the camera at them for 20 seconds. That's not hyperbole, I timed it.
You know what is interesting, actually, and maybe it's because we're back in the tight turnaround again with the film's release. I was shocked, considering that we had seen CGI in the previous film. I was shocked by how little CGI we were getting in this film in comparison.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, thank God that they did not CGI like Mothra or Batra or anything like that, you know, or the fairies. But it was interesting, I think, that there was quite a lack of it. And I mean, maybe there was some CGI and it was just, we didn't notice it. It was very subtle. However, this is the early 90s. So I don't think that that's possible.
They just can't get the motion effect right, so the green screen Cosmos girls just kind of shift in her palm as she like lifts them up.
Yeah, so it's like the kid's hands couldn't stop shaking or something. Like the kid probably just couldn't hold her hand steady or something because she's a kid, you know.
They didn't have After Effects at that point, I guess.
I don't know. They didn't have a hand model.
Just don't
Maybe
point
they did
the
have a
camera
hand
at
model.
it for a
This
prolonged
was the
period
better
of
one.
time. Just cut away. Anyway.
Yeah, I understand wanting to do a cool trick shot, but yeah, if you can't pull it off, don't do it. However, that applies to this entire movie in many ways.
True. So Mothra does a bit more rampaging as a treat before heading to the diet building and weaving a cocoon around herself. It's a beautiful moment that is immediately shattered when Mount Fuji erupts. In a burst of fire, magma, and lightning, Godzilla emerges to wreak havoc once more.
Surprise, bitches. He came out of the volcano again.
Yeah, apparently this shot was pretty hard to make because they actually shot it at night rather than doing that thing where they shoot it at the day and then slap a filter on it and it does not work.
It looked really good. Yeah, but I thought it looked really cool.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it looks amazing.
They did a good job on it.
The suit actor did.
Why is he coming out of this volcano? I don't care. It looks sick. Looks like, I mean, you could screen grab almost any frame of that, and then it could be a metal album cover.
Oh, hell yeah. It's so funny. The suit actor in an interview said that they had to like grab shells as they were shooting that scene because they didn't want him to step on them after they ignited them for all the pyrotechnics. And also, as we know from doing this podcast, if that Godzilla suit lit on fire, they would have kept rolling.
They keep going.
This is the most dangerous part of the movie.
I think, what kind of waivers is the suit actor signing? Because, thank God, honestly, I think it's really good now that Godzilla is CGI just for the sheer safety of the actor. Because the fact that, now, correct, Kevin, I could be completely misremembering, but correct me if I'm wrong. No Godzilla suit actor has ever died in the making of a Godzilla film, right?
Yes. No Godzilla suit actor has died in the making. Have they been injured?
'Cause, like,
well,
yes.
maybe, but not died.
I mean, people do sometimes die on film sets, which is usually completely preventable and chalked up to incompetence and ignoring safety. But yeah, I'm really glad that there's no more suit actors that are gonna get cooked alive, possibly, in the creation of a Godzilla film, because it does give me a little bit of anxiety to think about that. So thank God for CGI now. This is sometimes technology replacing somebody's job is a good thing.
So real quick, there's a brief scene where Ando, the company man, admonishes the Marutomo company CEO for being a greedy bastard. Even though he was the one who brought him the cosmos in the first place, like it was his idea, but whatever. So the CEO feels really bad about it, and he has like a tantrum, and that's the last we see of him in this movie.
Yeah, but the CEO had his tantrum, and he's like... It's a lot of, how could this happen to me? Why are all of the bad things happening to me? What do you mean, consequences of my own actions?
Yeah.
It's truly, when we say a tantrum, he's acting like a 4-year-old. He throws himself on the ground.
Yeah, remember in Mothra versus Godzilla where the villains killed each other for a safe full of money, and then immediately afterward Godzilla destroyed them for their hubris?
Yeah, slapped.
We don't get that.
No.
We did that shot with Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, and it didn't even make that much sense, but...
Yeah. Also, I could totally buy... His name is Ando?
Ando the company man, yeah.
Yeah, I could totally buy Ando stealing the cosmos, but having mixed feelings about it and then regretting it and kind of having, you know, a come to Jesus moment about the entire situation. If we had a little bit more information about Ando himself and his motivations, because it's not like people have to make, we live in late stage capitalism. People make decisions all of the time where they're putting their own self-interest in the form of like survival ahead of, you know, their greater good or their moral ethics or whatever. I used to work on a reality television show. I have been complicit in exploiting people for entertainment, you know. I felt bad about it. I didn't have any power in the entire situation except the power to like walk away, but I was desperately needed money. You know what I mean? Like, morals can get flexible when you're under that sort of pressure, and your principles can get flexible under that sort of pressure. Kidnapping people is a really big thing. Big difference, kidnapping somebody versus being like, oh yeah, if you come onto the show, maybe you'll get some sort of help for your mental illness or whatever. Yeah. These people, you know, people still chose to be on the show. This is you committed felonies. You've committed terrible crimes here.
But Kayla, they're not people. They're cosmos.
And then you just like regretted it when Mothra was rampant. I mean, I don't know. I guess like doing a bad thing and then Mothra destroying your fucking city, like all the kaiju showing up and destroying your city. You're like, oh, maybe I did make a bad decision. I don't know. I guess perhaps I'm being a little too hard on him.
Well, we do have that scene where the CEO is looking out the window and seeing Mothra rampage through the city, and he yells something to the effect of, I don't care, Mothra can destroy the city, I'll just rebuild it. So once again, we have that theme of the large CEOs in Japan literally building the cities, because we had that in
profiting
Godzilla versus
from the destruction of Japan. Yeah. Do you mean to tell me that some people in Japan actually did profit from the destruction of cities post-World War II?
Anyway, back to the kaiju.
And maybe some people had some feelings about that and how that shook out for the Japanese people. Interesting. That's the whole thing with this entire movie is that it's like it just feels like it's not fully fleshed out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like Ando, his turn can make sense, but it feels a little unearned because it's just like that, you know? And we don't even get like, you could have just played it on his face of the CEO being like, I don't care, destroy it. I'll rebuild it. I'll rebuild it all, you know? And then Ando being like, my house is down there. You know, like we don't even see it play on his face like that, of that realization, you know? And that would have been good. I would have liked that. That could have worked.
We also don't get karmic payoff. Because that's the thing that I'm referencing with like Mothra versus Godzilla, the original movie, is it's pretty clear the CEOs die by their own greed, and that death is brought by Godzilla. But in this movie, Ando just kind of admonishes the CEO and then walks away. The CEO has a tantrum, and then we never see him again. And it's like...
Theoretically...
You're like, come on, we're in a monster movie!
Theoretically, the CEO of this company who does who knows what, development, I guess, by his whole being like, I'll just rebuild Tokyo. Theoretically, he does, and he profits from it, because consequences in my late stage capitalism couldn't be a thing.
Anyway, so back to the kaiju. The JSDF deploy their Maser laser cannons against Godzilla, and Godzilla blows them all up. All hope seems lost. But then, Mothra emerges from her cocoon in her full, glorious moth form.
And she's beautiful.
And
everybody's like, oh, she's so beautiful.
Which is like they just saw her destroy so many buildings.
Yeah, but that was the caterpillar.
When Mothra does it in her moth form, then it's beautiful.
Now she's pretty. Looks matter, Kevin.
Kaiju can get away with it as long as they're pretty.
Beautiful people could do anything. As long as you're hot, you can get away with anything.
Mothra also appears from the ocean, but he doesn't need to make a cocoon, apparently, because he just immediately transforms into his own dark moth form, which is very funny to me.
Yeah, he doesn't, it's fine.
We don't have time to do a Mothra cocoon scene.
He's Shadow the Hedgehog. He has different powers. I can see the Deviant Art page for this is my OC, Mothra. He's like the dark shadow form of Mothra.
So the three kaiju converge at the Cosmo Clock 21 Ferris wheel, which was the largest Ferris wheel in the world from 1989 to 1992. Fun fact.
What happened?
They built a bigger one.
Where?
I think also in Japan.
Oh, okay. I wanted to make sure I was,
okay, you know what? Pause. Hang on. I'll look it up real quick.
Did they demo it?
This is going to bug me the whole podcast now. I'm just double checking that
it's still there. The Twin Towers were the tallest skyscrapers until something happened. And it wasn't that they built a taller one.
Okay, so it was the world's tallest Ferris wheel until the completion of the 354-foot tall Ogosu 108 in Shiga, Japan in 1992.
Okay, cool.
So actually, so literally the year this movie came out, that Ferris wheel stopped being the world's tallest Ferris wheel.
Wow. Wow. That hurts.
So Mothra and Batra dogfight in the skies, but Mothra can barely hold her own against Batra's laser blasts. Mothra crashes to the ground, and then Godzilla shows up to fight Batra. Batra fires his lasers and collapses an entire skyscraper on Godzilla. But when Batra flies close enough, Godzilla emerges from the rubble and slams Batra to the ground. Mothra then gets back up. In a brief moment, Mothra heals Batra and forms a truce with her ancient foe.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful. Then, Mothra fights Godzilla in close combat before getting smacked into the Ferris wheel. But before the Ferris wheel can fall on Mothra, Batra grabs it, lifts it into the sky, and drops it on Godzilla. It's now 2 moths against 1 atomic dinosaur.
Literally is just constantly, it's just like, and there's Batra with a steel chair. And there's Batra with another steel chair.
Atomic breaths, laser blasts, some ill-defined sparkly dust attack from Mothra. As the battle rages, eventually both moths grab Godzilla and lift him into the sky and over the ocean. Godzilla takes his chance to bite into Batra's neck, spilling green blood.
It's quite graphic.
Batra falls into the ocean, taking Godzilla with him. Then, Mothra inscribes a glowing rune into the water, supposedly trapping Godzilla, but it's never actually explained. It just looks really pretty.
Don't worry about it.
Still, the day is saved.
Yay! Oh, well, not quite, because the meteor.
Yes. We cut to the very next day. The cosmos reveal that Batra was also tasked with stopping a meteor that will strike the Earth at the end of the 20th century. So, which is 8 years. A different meteor than the one that has already hit Earth. I was sitting there, I was like, wait, so did the meteor am I misremembering the beginning of this movie? Was the meteor just it's incoming and now they have to stop it? No, there was one meteor strike and now there's another incoming meteor strike. They fired a warning shot and now here comes the world ender. This is actually a Starship Troopers prequel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and this is, by the way, literally the first time this whole second meteor thing comes up.
Yeah, right at the end. There was no indication. At no point in time does the initial meteor strike that kicks off this film. At no point in time do they cut to some scientists being like, oh yeah, it's from a meteor storm that is moving through our galaxy and there could be more meteors and oh no and blah, blah, blah. Nope. First time we're hearing of this other meteor.
Yep.
I guess, is it an asteroid? It's an asteroid because it's not a meteor until it hits the atmosphere. Right?
I mean, I don't know. All I know is that in like 8 years' time, there's going to be a meteor that hits the Earth. And instead of just waiting 7.5 years, Mothra is apparently going to go out into space to stop the meteor because she made a deal with Mothra during the Godzilla fight to take care of that if she tag teamed with her against Godzilla. So Mothra flies off into deep space with the cosmos to save the Earth once more. Roll credits. That's the end of the movie. Hey, did you notice that we haven't talked about the human characters in a while? Yeah, the movie forgot about them too.
Yeah, another thing. If Mothra had this big job to go take care of this meteor so that it doesn't destroy the Earth, why was he fighting Godzilla in the first? It kind of, it's like, my job is to stop the apocalypse, but I'll fuck around and find out with Godzilla, I mean, it'd be one thing if Mothra had to go to Mothra, like if Mothra and Godzilla were fighting, then Mothra had to escaped Godzilla and came to Mothra's door and was like, I didn't know where else to go. And Mothra nurses Mothra back to help and is like, I can't defeat Godzilla on my own. And Mothra is like, I wish I could help you, but if I die, then what about the meteor situation in 8 years? And Mothra is like, I promise, we'll take care of it, if you die, I will take care of it if I live, Together one of us can get out of this at least.
Could you imagine if they did the Ghidorah thing where it's like while Mothra is healing and talking to Mothra, the cosmos are on the side translating, and it's like Mothra is making a truce with Mothra, and Mothra is saying that, oh, by the way, there's going to be another meteor coming in 7 to 8 years, so if you can take care of that for me, I'll help you with Godzilla. And then the humans just look at him, it's like, wait, what? Huh?
And then they make this whole truce deal, and the jazz music starts, and then the fairies are like, and now, or the cosmos are like, and now we must cut away.
It's so...
One of these days, I'm just gonna publish 6 different Godzilla franchise AO3s. Or fix on AO3, and somebody's gonna find my account that way.
Hey, so listen, here is my fix-it fic for this movie, because I've been thinking about it before we did this episode, and this one thought couldn't escape me.
Yeah.
So, the best Godzilla films, or at least the most interesting, have some sort of connection between the humans and the kaiju.
Yes.
Serizawa looks at Godzilla and sees the effects of scientific research gone wrong. Mm-hmm. The journalists in Mothra vs. Godzilla look at Mothra and see their own helplessness in the face of industrialization. Mm-hmm. Godzilla vs. Hedorah, it's a bunch of hippies worried about the environment, and now they're being attacked by Hedorah.
Yeah.
But in this movie, the humans don't have a connection to the monsters. There's not really a thematic
Unless
thing.
Mothra and Mothra were divorced and have a child somewhere.
That's what I'm saying. We don't have that scene where Mothra and Mothra come together, and then we cut to the humans and the Indiana Jones guy and his ex-wife come together. We don't have that scene, and I was expecting that scene, and we don't. And it's such lost potential. Here's my fix-it, though, okay? Mm-hmm. Take Takuya. Don't make him a low-rate Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Make him an eco-terrorist.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. How to blow up a pipeline. Yes.
Start the movie, instead of him trying to steal a golden idol, have him trying to blow up a pipeline or throw blood on an oil CEO or something like that. Yeah. And you don't even have to change that much else of the movie. He still goes to prison. His wife still doesn't like him because instead of going off to steal gold, he's going off to do eco-terrorist stuff. And then
he can justify his whole thing. You don't pay your child support. Well, our daughter's not going to have a fucking future if somebody doesn't do something about the climate.
And he And then he can also look at himself reflected in Mothra, who is essentially an eco-terrorist. Mothra is in order to save the planet, we must destroy humanity. And then, if Takuya was an eco-terrorist, he could see himself in Mothra, just as Mothra sees herself in Mothra. and realized the error of his ways. One change could fix so much about this movie, but instead they were like, hey, did you see Raiders of the Lost Ark last night? Yeah, I did.
Oh man, I love Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I totally love Raiders of the Lost Ark, dude. Let's do a Raiders of the Lost Ark.
And they did multiple, there's multiple Indiana Jones movies by the time we got here to this one. So maybe they did a whole marathon, but they only stole from Raiders because they didn't have room for everybody else. You know, a lot of potential that didn't go anywhere, but I really like Mothra, I have to say. What was Godzilla doing this entire movie? It was just, Godzilla was just here to throw hands. He got woke up and he's like, I will throw hands.
Yeah. Like I said in the context, this was originally just going to be a Mothra movie, and then they were like, actually, let's throw Godzilla in here to sell tickets, which is basically what they did with Godzilla vs. Megalon.
Yeah.
And so Godzilla is just a rogue element. He's that wrestler that shows up in the heel-face combat just to start throwing chairs. You know, he's a rogue element, and it's interesting.
Yeah. I'd like some more motivations.
Yeah. Godzilla as a character has lost a lot of motivation in these movies.
Yeah. The problem is, and I think this is a trap, which, you know, the guy that was working on this, and I defended him a little bit in past episodes, I know, but the screenwriter for this is quote-unquote not a Godzilla fan, and I think something that can happen sometimes with people that are not monster fans or horror fans even, they'll look at the monster and they say, well, the whole point of it is just to cause destruction, right? And it's like, no, it still needs to have a motivation. It still needs to have a motivation just like any other non-monster antagonist would in any other film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, if it doesn't, then, you know, it's like the Twisters in Twisters don't have a motivation. Granted. So theoretically, you could have a Godzilla movie where Godzilla is like just a natural disaster and doesn't have a motivation. Well, in that case, you need human characters who have a really good storyline that ties very directly to the destruction that Godzilla is representing. And that's not happening in this film. No. You know, you can do Godzilla's only motivation is blind destruction or whatever, if that is affecting the human storyline in a way that is really significant and ties everything in. If it's not, then it's just... And also, the city's on fire for no reason. Like, it's just... it's a waste. It's a waste of what Godzilla actually is.
And once again, I go back to the original Mothra versus Godzilla. And by the way, I re-listened to that episode before recording this because I kind of wanted to get that frame.
Yeah.
But Godzilla, he goes on a rampage in that movie, but it's because he is awoken by industrialization efforts. They blow up the Earth in order to build on it, and they wake up Godzilla, and he's pissed off. And so there's that direct through line of the increased industrialization of Japan is leading to unintended consequences.
This time it was just a meteor.
Yeah.
And now there's another meteor that's coming to destroy the planet. And it sort of just plays out as there's all of this environmental messaging in here, right? That the humans are going to destroy the Earth. Except climate crisis and meteor destruction the Earth's not going to be destroyed by the climate crisis. The Earth is going to be destroyed by an asteroid hitting it, which is not the humans' fault.
And like even the impetus of the film is another meteor. It's not the climate crisis that unearths Mothra's egg.
It's nobody's fault. It's actually nobody's fault because it's just a random act of God. Like, it's fine.
Yeah. So
I was going to rate this movie better, but talking through it, I'm like, no, actually, I don't think I can, even for Mothra. I think all of the stars are just going to be for Mothra and Mothra.
We both wanted this movie to be better for Mothra. So speaking of this movie's performance, this movie
got done dirty.
This movie sold 4.2 million tickets in Japan, which became the most successful domestic film in 1993. Guess what beat it out in terms of like overall box office?
One of the greatest kaiju films of all time, Jurassic Park, a movie that actually has a coherent plot about humanity fucking around with science. Shocker. Shocker.
Hey, Kayla, do you think there's going to be a future Godzilla movie that is heavily inspired by Jurassic Park?
Well, as long as it's good, it makes more sense to do something that's inspired by Jurassic Park than Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So,
Both
yeah.
Steven Spielberg movies.
There we go. So, one last bit of trivia before we close this off. So, the Godzilla suit in this movie is new, and that's because someone stole the previous Godzilla suit. Literally, they were going to film this movie, and then they looked in the closet where they keep all the suits, and Godzilla wasn't there, and they were like, that's a problem. And so they had like a public campaign. They offered a huge cash reward, and eventually the stolen Godzilla suit was later found discarded in a bamboo patch. Like an elderly woman in the suburbs just like picked up the phone and went, "Hey, I think there's a monster in my backyard." And it was Godzilla.
I would love that comedy heist film.
We're gonna steal Godzilla's suit.
Yeah, like why? And then it was discarded. I want to know. I think there could be a fun story in there. It's just like I really want. At some point I'd like to do this. I think there should be a movie about trying to steal the lost Wile E. Coyote movie from Warner Brothers.
Oh yeah.
I think that would be a sick ass Ocean's 11 style heist movie. And then do it kind of high comedy, absurdist comedy like Looney Tunes style. And to free Wile E. Coyote, because the whole fucking movie was Wile E. Coyote versus Acme. He was suing them. He was gonna go to jail anyway.
I would love to see the Godzilla suit heist movie, the hypothetical one in here, because there would inevitably be multiple scenes where one of the heist members has to wear the Godzilla suit, and then they get dragged into some sort of like public appearance or something like that. They have to keep up the Godzilla disguise.
There's tourists that want to take pictures with them and then give them money, and they're like, "Oh, okay, sure."
They're on like a Hollywood Walk of Fame kind of area, and then there's another person in like an Anguirus costume who like comes up and has like a play fight with him or something like that.
No, there's somebody else in another, like maybe in a Mecha Godzilla suit that's like, "This is my corner, this is my turf, you can't be here." And they're like, "Dude, I don't want to, I just need to go through." And they're like, "No." And then he has to fight a whole bunch of other people in kaiju suits. Yeah,
it's like an actual kaiju fight, but like just a bunch of people in suits like pushing each other on this. Okay, you know what? I kind of want to write this movie now.
I think it'd be fun.
Writing it on a Post-it. Anyway, so Kayla, what would you rate Godzilla versus Mothra?
Okay, listen, the effects were really good, and I love Mothra. I love Batra. I love the idea of Mothra having, this other counterpart. Godzilla gets all of these Godzilla knockoffs that he has to fight that represent evil versions of himself or whatever. However, so much of this movie just doesn't hold water, and that really sucks. I mean, I see here one of the fun facts is just Taiko Okurawa saying, "I regard Godzilla films purely as entertainment. That's why I like to put shots offering comic relief into scenes in which people are seen panicking." And I believe you can balance horror and humor, but also just regarding, yes, films are entertainment, but that doesn't mean that they aren't also art and can't have meaning, and you can't take it seriously and make something that logically makes sense, at least. I think I have to, and this pains me to do this to Mothra, I think I'm going to have to say 2 stars.
Listen.
1 star for Mothra and 1 star for Batra.
There we go. We didn't do this to Mothra. They did it to Mothra.
They did it to Mothra.
In the shadow,
we are the meteor.
In the shadow of Mothra versus Godzilla, I have to give Godzilla versus Mothra 2 out of 5 stars. Just the same.
I feel like it's worth watching if you are a Mothra Batra fan. Just know it's not necessarily going to be as good. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think another thing that's interesting that I'm realizing now, so Batra's design has more of like a hawk moth kind of like design.
Mm-hmm.
Monsterverse Mothra looks more like Batra than Mothra, and I think that's kind of interesting.
Probably I would assume to make Mothra more intimidating.
Yeah, 100%. Mothra is a monster in Monsterverse. Like, I love her in those films.
Love that. I love that for us.
So, Kayla, what's the next movie we're watching?
Next, we'll be watching Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. 1993. Oh, is this going to be a Jurassic Park ripoff? Be sure
this is
to
not going
watch
to be the Jurassic Park ripoff.
Oh, this isn't the ripoff?
This is the sequel that's not a sequel. It was titled Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Has nothing to do with the other Mechagodzilla movies.
So we're back to this shit again already.
Yeah.
We're like 5 movies into the Heisei era, and we're already doing this shit. 4 movies? Oh, whatever. Okay. Be sure to watch the Japanese version, not the English dub. If you like this podcast, be sure to subscribe, give us a rating, leave a comment, and share with a friend. Follow us on social media. We got the links in the show notes. We also have a Ko-fi. You can support us there and get access to cool bonus content like extra episodes and access to the private Discord, where you can talk with other geeks about Godzilla and all things Digital Kaiju. Check it out. Gorilla Whale is a production of Digital Kaiju Studios. It is hosted and produced by Kevin Carpenter and Kayla Knutson. Gorilla Whale has no official affiliation with Toho, Legendary, or any other companies associated with the Godzilla franchise. We thank you for watching along with us. Until next time, watch out for kaiju.
Watch out for kaiju.